Good evening and welcome to the Invictus Racing League. This is the top tier of the Equal Performance Leagues, Tier 1, brought to you in partnership with gridfinder.com. And we are here for round number 8 at the United States Grand Prix, where it is a sprint format, one-shot qualifying, 10-lap sprint race and a 28-lap feature. My normal co-commentator Webber is unfortunately not here tonight. Obviously, we do hope everything's all well with him. So in his place in the commentary box for the first time is Sab.
Good evening. Yes, it is the first one of the season. I was meant to be here last week, but unfortunately made up with cold. But excited tonight to be here watching these guys race around Kota. One of my favourite tracks on the calendar, Kota. It brings up a lot of exciting track action, and with the added action of a sprint, it could be a very interesting race tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big thing with sprints is that you can have very much variable weather, as we saw on Monday. Session to session can be completely different, which just adds that little bit of spice to things.
Yeah, most definitely. And as we were just discussing off air, the one-shot quality adding to that sprint as well really does mix things up. You could have a favourite for pole position, especially around this track, just run slightly wide, and that's in invalidation, and that'll be them probably starting near the back. So that one-shot quality is crucial if you want to really motor on and score good points tonight, especially in that sprint, because you've got to be up at the front of the sprint. So these guys will be on it straight away. There's no getting a warm-up lap in. You've got to nail it straight away, and be interested to see who these guys can do that tonight.
Yeah, and obviously with the added thing with the feature and the weather, setup becomes quite critical, because if you've got a dry quali and sprint but a wet feature, it depends which way the driver's going to go, whether they're going to go for that wet setup ready for the feature, or whether they want to take full advantage of the drier conditions and go for a dry setup for qualifying and the sprint, because obviously only the top 5 score in the sprint.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a tough position to be in. In an ideal world, you'll want dry or wet, won't you? But unfortunately for the likes of me and you, on Monday we experienced wet then dry, and it was a very interesting way to try and set your car up. I tried to go with higher wings and thought about trying to keep the car stable through, especially for that first sector, and for me it worked out well, and I think that's probably the way I would go in the future. But these guys, they're a much better driver than me, so I'm sure they can show me a thing or two this evening if it goes that way.
Yeah, I'll see the top tier without any assists as well, no traction control, ABS. It's a whole new level of driving, especially when you get into those wetter conditions. But Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, of the United States. First Grand Prix in 2012 in real life. It's 5.5 kilometers long with 20 corners, 11 to the left, 9 to the right. Your key overtaking points are turn 1 after the DRS zone, turn 11 just coming over the brow, and turn 12 at the end of the back straight with that DRS zone. Most of the corners, it's not easy to make an overtake on, especially that first sector where you've got that Maggots and Beckett's esque set of S's.
Yeah, it can be quite tricky to follow somebody through there with the dirty air. If you following someone through there, you can easily find yourself drifting wide through one of the corners and picking up a warning. I always find that sector the most, me personally, is it's very easy to pick up warnings, and you can only pick 3 warnings up and suddenly you've got a penalty. You do that in the first couple of laps and you're already on the back foot, so you'll be wanting to make sure you nail that nice. And sometimes, especially on the opening lap, it's quite chaotic through there, so you've got to make sure you don't get nudged out wide, or you don't clip anybody, because it's not only tricky to navigate through there, but it's fast, isn't it? Like you say, like Maggots and Beckett's, and you get it slightly wrong and it could ruin the rest of your life, especially for something like one-shot quali. If you don't nail that first sector, you're going to find yourself on the back foot getting into that second sector.
Yeah, and a bit of an interesting fact is that the real life race lap record is set by Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari in 2019 with a 1:36.169. However, technically that honour goes to Ghost because last season he did a 1:35.436 in his Alpine.
Nice. That is an interesting fact.
We're just waiting for the session to get underway. I don't know whether we're potentially waiting for a few more drives to come in because we only have 12 in at the moment, and we do know we have more than that normally. But I mean, where do you think your key points are really around COTA? I mean, obviously we've got those 3 main overtaking zones, but I mean, is there anywhere else that you're particularly looking at in terms of the circuit?
For me, the long sweeping right-hander in sector 3, 16 to 18, I find, I don't know about you, but I can find that particularly tricky. And if you don't get your line right through there, I saw it on Monday night for a few drivers. You can easily spin the car out there and drift out onto that painted area that they've got out on the left-hand side. That bit there, in my opinion, that long sweeping right hand is particularly tricky, and you can easily put yourself all out of shape going into 19. And if you don't nail 19 then, or go wide at 19, there's another place where you can pick up warnings and penalties. So that sector 3, even though it doesn't on paper look as tricky as the sector 1, sector 3 I think is just as crucial towards the end of the lap, because you've got to be able to get your lines right and your braking right through there. Otherwise, it's a lot of trouble for you on, especially if you're going for a fast lap. But yeah, I've always personally found that sector, that sweeping right-hander, a lot more trickier than the first sector. I don't know if that's an opinion you share, but that's what I've always found.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest thing with COTA is really the corner exits, in my opinion, because obviously you do have these sort of long straights, but you have to set every time there's a long straight, you tend to find there's a collection of corners where the exits are crucial to keep you in that sort of fight, in that zone behind people. So, and I think this is where the trade-off for America comes, of low wings for top end or higher wings for the grip and the get-go effectively out of the corner. So I think we're going to see maybe some contrasting setups, which we have seen in both races really, between tier 3 and tier 2 so far.
Yeah, definitely. I preferred a higher wing setup. I found that it was more comfortable for my driving style, especially through first and third sector. And then I'd try and basically use some of my ERS for that second sector, that long back straight, and hope that my disadvantage on that back straight is nullified a little bit because I've managed to gain some time through the first sector. But as you say, you don't get your exits right going into the second sector. Me running the higher wings then suddenly leaves me on the defensive, and I've got to try and hold the cars behind who may be running low wings, and it's suddenly becomes very tricky down to turn 12 to keep that car behind, especially when you've got quite high wings. So it depends on how you feel with the track, I think. I like this track because it does bring out different varieties of setups for everybody. Me with higher wings, somebody else could be with lower wings. So, yeah, it does give good variation strategies. It also, as we saw, brings interesting weather out. It brings all sorts. That's why I think this is one of the better tracks on the F1 calendar, because normally, whenever we go here, not in IRL, but as well in real F1, we do get a good race.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm just having a look at the Discord because I believe we are still waiting for some drivers to get in.
Right. Hopefully they'll be in sooner rather than later then, and it'd be interesting to see from my point of view how Cameron gets on tonight, because last time I came in for tier 1 to do some commentary work with you, a ghost was pretty much a ghost for everybody. Nobody ever really seen him. He was normally that far ahead and running away with the championship at this point last season, but looking at the tables now, it's not appearing that way. So I'm excited to see how Ghost goes on tonight with Cameron, who seemingly looks like the faster driver so far. And coming up to the season break, I'm sure Ghost will want to try and rectify some of that and win tonight and go into the season break on a high, then into the second half of the season really kick on. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how these guys do, and hopefully we get a good opening sprint race. One-shot quali in a second.
Yeah, and now getting towards qualifying, so as Lee says, the marshals can get warmed up and ready for any action they may have to get into. Everyone just selecting their tyres. Obviously, awkward thing for the sprints, because obviously with your tyre choice, sometimes you can get two sets of mediums, a set of hards, and a couple of sets of softs for the races, or whatever softs you bring in from quali. But normally you use one of your sets of mediums in the sprint, which means strategy can be a little bit more awkward, especially if safety cars come in the fray. And I'm not quite sure if we're counting down to getting into the one-shot quali or...
That's a good question.
Let's have a look. I think we're now just going to go to the track and wait for them to do all their setups. Yes.
It looks particularly dry as well there, doesn't it? So they'll be relieved with that.
It does for now. But yeah, a few drivers out. Obviously, Reshka not here tonight. Nathan not here tonight either. Nor is JSP or Luke Bailey. Also none of the Red Bulls. So a slightly smaller grid of 14, but I mean, 14 is enough to have some really good racing. And hopefully it continues on from the last couple of tiers. But I think best thing to do in one-shot qualifying, Sab, is whoever it picks straight away, we'll just go for a lap with them. And
yeah, definitely. And you talk about only being 14, but I think for anybody in tonight who may have not scored as many points, this is a great opportunity to score good points with only being a smaller grid, and they've got a real opportunity to get themselves right in there and bolster their championship and make it look a lot better. So anybody down in like the lower half of the championship so far will be looking tonight thinking there's an opportunity here, and they don't want to lose that opportunity because it might not come round like this again for them. So who knows? You say we could get great racing. I don't deny we'll get to great racing. As we see, we've got 25 seconds on the clock, ready for that sprint. I keep saying sprint, one-shot quali. I'll get used to this.
you can change it to one sprint quali if you want. And,
there you go.
we'll go from there. Bruce obviously saying this place in the wet was horrific on Monday, and obviously these guys don't have any assists, so if it does rain it's going to make it even worse. But 5 seconds to go. Let's have a little bit of an onboard lap around the circuit of the Americas. Who's it going to give us? It's going to give us Jasper, which is not a bad pick because he's been up there in qualifying in the past. So, cross the line up towards turn 1, bit like Delhi in India. That circuit that probably doesn't really exist anymore. Nice and wide in, get the nice and open out. 4th gear for Jasper on the exit, down the hill towards turn 2. Should be flat and towards the Maggots and Beckett section of the circuit. Flick it left, flick it right, 7th gear, drop it a gear just as you head into the right-hander. And it tightens on the exit, and then you got to swing it back left and back to the right, which tightens up again, and then you got to try and get this left-hander open through turn 9. 10's flat over the crest, down to 11, and the first real break of the lap for the drivers. Jasper very close to the edge of the track as you go through 11. Tirak parked in a dangerous location, not quite sure where that was. Danestar's retired, so he's actually crashed the car. Alvan down this back straight with the DRS. Again, the first break of the lap, where you hit the brakes once again at 100 metres to go into turn 12. Big overtaking potential there tonight. 13 and 14, double 2 right-handers, just make it almost one corner, one long hairpin. Into 15, a bit like the Bahrain turn 9 and 10. Late apex, straighten the car as much as you can, just for getting a little bit squirrely. And then this infamous triple apex right-hander, like Istanbul, of 16, 17, 18. Bring it back to the right for 19. Get it as open as you can in 5th gear. Then the final corner, turn 20. Down to 3rd. A lot tighter than first looking. Just again, a bit of a slide. Karen set pole position, Jasper 5th. But qualifying very tight in the end.
It was, yeah, and Cameron takes pole position there just by a tenth. So, but look at Ghost. I was just talking about him down in 11th place. So not a one-shot quali he was hoping for. And this is what we were saying. It can mix the grid up. So Ghost's going to have some work to do if he's going to get himself in those sprint points later.
Absolutely. And would you like to take us through the grid for the sprint race?
Yeah, so we've got Cameron in pole position with Nick less than a tenth in 2nd place, ERT Nipro in 3rd in the Alfa Romeo, 2 Alfa Romeos there, top 3, that's nice, going with Stinos in 4th, with Jasper TH in Haas in 5th, MDJ 2002 in the Alpha Tower in 6th, Speed Queen 7th, 47 Ricky Mauro in 8th, Jeremy Clarkson, which I never thought I'd say, 9th, 10th is Ryan Depreve, 11th Ghost, 12th Tirac, Luke and Dainstein 13th and 14th. And yeah, we have a bit of a mixed grid there. Of course, shame there's a few of them who didn't get their lap in, but as we said, it's quite easy round this track to invalidate, so not surprising either. But what weather we're going to get, and we've got dry weather, so these guys have got away with it for sprint. We don't know quite yet though what it's going to be for the main race.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple of strategies in the last sprint at I believe it was Austria, where the first sprint took place, where some people took soft tyres, some took mediums. Now, I feel around this circuit, the way the tyre wear is, everyone's going to be on those medium tyres because the softs will be near the end of their life, or they will at least be crying come the end of the 10 laps. But, I mean, Speed Queen always up for a different challenge and a different strategy to everyone. And with her tyre wear, as we've seen in the past, her tyre wear is one of the best in the league.
It is. I've commentated and raced with Speed Queen many times, and she's phenomenal at tyre wear. She really is. I wouldn't put it past her to put those soft tyres on. I put the soft tyres on Monday night, and they were crying after 7 laps. So 10 laps, that would be some hell of a job. But don't put it past Speed Queen. But yeah, I imagine the majority of the grid will be going for those medium tyres. If there's a safety car, who knows? Someone at the back might throw on a set of soft tyres just to see what they can do for the remaining laps. But what are we going to get? Just 10 seconds left, and we're going to go sprinting.
Yeah, and as we've seen in the past, sprints can cause carnage, but hopefully not tonight. Not up into turn 1, it's very easy to make a mistake, but here we go for the IRL sprint race at the USA. And we have a formation lap, which I was not expecting.
No.
We have gone green, but not at racing speed just yet. Possibly a slight error in terms of the settings. I know normally JSP would host this lobby, but maybe Ryan maybe just has the old settings still saved. An unexpected surprise, but not a necessarily bad one for us here, as we can check out everyone's tyres, and it'll be the same for the feature. Everyone on the mediums, though, as probably expected.
Yeah, it's no real surprise. I would have been a little bit shocked to see those soft tyres out, but who knows, if there's a safety car winning 3 or 4 laps of this race, then I wouldn't be surprised someone like a Ryan, or maybe even a Ghost down in 10th and 11th, just try something a bit different to see if they can push themselves further up the field for the main race. But yeah, we have a formation lap. I forgot what one of these looked like.
Yeah, I mean, we did obviously start this season off with a formation lap, and then it has been turned off probably until F1 23 comes out. Just due to a small glitch where sometimes some people's tyres are still stone cold when effectively the car kind of resets on the grid. But what this does enable is some nice angles on the grid, because obviously you do have to park the car yourself, So you can, for example, like in real life, you can angle the car towards the inside the corner or towards someone to try and fend them off the start. So, although I must admit, Cameron and Nick have got quite a big gap on this formation lap.
So they have, yeah, that's a good point, that, yeah. So they're keen to get on with it. And, yeah, these guys are just starting to come around now. So as you say, that is the interesting thing about the formation lap, is you can try and angle your car. And I'm wondering if Cameron will be trying that on Nick, because Nick does have the inside line, and if he gets a good getaway, then he could send one up the inside of Cameron into turn 1. So, yeah, and it looks like to me, just looking at him, Cameron has angled that car.
Yeah, Speed Queen getting her parking wrong there, and you can see the deficit in the car. But here we go for the IRL sprint. We had the 5 red lights, and we are green at Cota, and that angle from Cameron Sewell means he can get across ahead of Nick Jewston in time that he stays in the lead as we enter the first part of the lap. And it's all a little bit close, but looks like, generally speaking, other than Ghost with a bit of a slow getaway, everyone's got through cleanly through turn 1 as we head through the first sector for the first time, and everyone slots into line, which is good to see. No accidents at the start of this sprint.
The Ferrari in 4th, I don't know who tagged him, but the Ferrari in 4th was pretty much sideways going through turn 1, really held well. He definitely got a nudge, maybe from MDJ in the AlphaTauri behind, I'm not sure, but the Ferrari survives.
Oh,
and
and Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah.
Jeremy Clarkson sent one down the inside of 2 cars there, MDJ being one of them in the AlphaTauri, and unfortunately I think that will end up in the stewards. And it's caused a little bit of chaos behind as others are now fighting for track position. Luke Ten Brink down the inside of Jasper. He gets into 5th place. Ryan and Jeremy still side by side. A little bit of contact out of 12. But Ryan gets past in the end. And Ghost is under attack a little bit from Tirac, just behind in the Alpine.
As we see Danestar trying one on Speed Queen there, it was never really going to work, and Danestar stays in 9th place. The long sweeping right hander now. Speed Queen in 8th place. She's trying to defend off the Ferrari. Speed Queen though has got enough there in her experience to keep that Ferrari behind for now. Running wide, Danestar in the last corner, that could compromise into Ryan. Ryan now in the Mercedes on the inside line. Can he make a move on the Ferrari for P9? Leaves it as late as possible. Break. He gets tagged by the Ferrari, and Ryan loses a couple of places. The Ghost takes advantage.
Oh, there's an Alpine. Tirac just spun out of turn 1.
Oh no.
He's still riding on board with Danestar as the incident happened, and there that Ryan has disconnected, which is not ideal. It's not ideal for the host to disconnect from the session as MDJ gets past him. I'm not quite sure. I don't know whether you can
I'll try and
ping and invite into the group. Hopefully you can get in that way. But Ricky Maru has got past Jasper. Looks like Jasper's made a mistake out of turn 11 at the hairpin, and he's cost him a place to Speed Queen as well. Danestar may be looking to capitalise as well, but he's a bit too far back as Speed Queen goes down the outside of Ricky Maru into turn 12. See, DRS not yet activated, so that's a pure move from Speed Queen, probably with a bit of ERS. We know she uses her ERS quite quickly. Still side by side, almost into turn 15, but Speed Queen fends off the attack. Danestar makes an opportunistic move down the inside of Jasper on the Haas. They're going to go at it through the triple apex right hander near the end of this lap, but Danestar just about has enough legs to stay ahead for now and complete that move. On to lap 3, DRS will now be active, and we do know that DRS is a powerful weapon round Cota, but all of the action is now Ghost gets past Jasper, is happening in the mid pack and at the bottom of the pile.
It is, and Cameron will be desperate at the front of this pack to break that 1 second barrier to Nick in 2nd place, but Nick's doing well to hang on. Tirac has now retired from the session, I believe. Yes, he's retired in the pit lane, so there'll be no safety car or VSC involved.
Oh, there's a spin. Luke Ten Brink has spun.
Oh, no.
That is through turn 7. Luckily he's ghosted, but now that's dropped him down into 11th. He was running well up in I believe 5th place, so he was getting a point from this sprint race. Not anymore. MDJ looks to the inside of Jasper at turn 11, and that's move done. And he'll also have DRS, I think, to help him. Jasper has a little look on the exit, but again, just doesn't quite have the legs to do it.
47 Ricky is well under the rear wing of Speed Queen, but Speed Queen must be running low wings, because Ricky with the DRS couldn't get past Speed Queen in 5th place. Speed Queen under all sorts of pressure now. She's not going to get DRS from the car ahead. She's too far behind, so there's nothing to defend with, so she'll be just using her wits, racing style and some ERS to try and keep that to pass in 6th place behind her. And that is also bringing, as Ricky picks up a 3-second time penalty, the first one of the evening, that is also bringing along Danestar, Ghost, MDJ and Jasper. So right now we have got a Speed Queen train in 5th place.
Yeah, apologies for everyone. I'm just going to try and send Ryan an invite myself, but he's not showing.
So Ricky's trying to hang on to the back of Speed Queen through the tricky first sector, the left, right, left, and Speed Queen, she's a tough old character to get past, and Speed Queen, with all of her experience, will know where to place that car and try and keep Ricky behind. Ricky will try once again. Ryan has thankfully now rejoined the session, which is good news. So can Ricky now have an opportunity to overtake Speed Queen? He was about this distance last time. Speed Queen looks like she's run out of ERS, that red light blinking on the rear of her car, but Ricky is unable to get past. So Ricky once again, I thought he was about to run into the back of Speed Queen there, just got out of it and unable to get past. So the likes of Ricky, Danestar, Ghost, we've got a yellow flag, and it's Jasper. Jasper has spun.
Yeah, unfortunate for Jasper. Obviously, for those that are new to this sprint format, where you finish here is where you start in the feature race, and Cameron Searle is looking in a really good position, not only for this sprint as he heads on to lap 5, but also for the feature on the pace that he's got here. He's looking in very good touch. Big slide from Ghost coming out of the final corner, well held by the McLaren driver. But I have heard, Sab, that we do have potential rain. Not quite sure which race, but I think it's potentially the feature race. We may have some rain on the way near the end of it.
That could spice things up, definitely, and could be a reason why some guys have looked particularly fast through the first sector, but not so fast down that long straight. Maybe have gone for the higher wings in case of that potential rain. But I'm staying on board with this Speed Queen train right now, riding with Ricky still. Ricky unable to get past Speed Queen, and unfortunately, because Ricky's not able to get past Speed Queen, his DRS is keeping the cars behind him, so there's kind of stuck in a rut. But Ricky does seem to be closer to Speed Queen this time. Is there an opportunity? Speed Queen is going left to defend. Here comes Ricky round the outside. Can Ricky get the move done? He looks like he has Speed Queen. He's going to try and keep it down inside, but no. Ricky on the 3rd attempt has got the move done now.
And you notice on that occasion as well for Speed Queen, the back light is flashing already. We're only halfway through this race. It is a common thing with Speed Queen. She does use her DRS very quickly in the races. And I think around this circuit, it's going to potentially cost her down that back straight. Because, I mean, me and Bruce discuss it in Tier 2 quite often. ERS is such a powerful weapon in this year's game to have to overtake people. You kind of want to use it, but also not use it, so you've got some for later in the race.
Yeah, most definitely. I was on Monday night saving all mine pretty much for the long straight on the back. I didn't really use it through this sector in Sector 1 now, or Sector 3 really. It was just all saved because I know that it was a good tool to help me defend. Now, what can Speed Queen do? Speed Queen is under pressure from Danestar now, but can she hang on to the back of Ricky and maybe mount an attack and retake that position she lost a lap ago? But she does seem to be falling off the back of Ricky now, and as you say, that ERS probably started to hamper her, not having much of it, because She's 8 tenths behind Ricky. She will have DRS, but she's not going to be able to mount an attack. So what can Danestar do here? 2 tenths behind Speed Queen, but Speed Queen will have the DRS to defend. This will be a lot more difficult for Danestar to get past. Speed Queen going on the defense again. Oh, this is a sweeping move there from Danestar. Very last moment. Nice move there. I think it caught Speed Queen out a little bit, and Danestar slots into 6th place.
Meanwhile, MDJ behind was looking at Ghost, trying to get an opening, as Ghost was obviously making sure he didn't make any contact with Speed Queen, because Speed Queen was compromised on the way out. But yeah, opportunistic there from Danestar late on the brakes, and Ghost is now lining up to take his go at Speed Queen's position. It's allowed Ricky Maru to get 1.6 at the road, but obviously he's got that 3-second penalty, so he wants to run as fast as he can here, because he's in that last points paying position for the sprint. Ghost, is he going to look for a move at turn 1? Yes, he is. To the inside he goes. We've got the spinner of Luke ten Brink, but we're not going to worry about that too much, because Ghost is down the inside, and the move just about completed by the McLaren. Sweeps across the nose, and into sector 1 they go once again.
Ghost will be wanting to try and clear Danestar pretty quickly, because, as you say, that 3-second time penalty for Ricky ahead in 5th place. If Ghost can get past Danestar on this lap, then stick within 3 seconds. Ghost will have a net P5, which I think after way qualifying went, he'll be pretty chuffed about. So Ghost now onto the back straight. It's 7 tenths behind. Danestar's gone very defensive very early, trying to break that toe, but I don't think he's got too much to worry about. I think Danestar does have a big enough gap this lap to keep Ghost behind him. Yeah,
and this 4-way fight for 6th place is Luke ten Brink. I think that's either his 2nd or 3rd set of penalties in this race for track limits, so it's not going well for the Aston Martin driver. But Ghost looking at the back. Looks like MDJ was looking around the outside of turn 15, a place you don't normally get a move, especially around the outside. But it was to no avail on that occasion.
No, it wasn't. And interesting, Ricky now is starting to build a decent gap to Danestar. 2.5 seconds to 6th place now. Finds another half second. That 3-second time penalty, as long as you don't pick any more time penalties up, that 3-second time penalty will not matter. So Ricky, as you say, has got the hurry on now. He's got to go for it. As we see Ghost having the move on Danestar.
Yeah, same move as he put on Speed Queen into turn 1. He seems to get good traction at that final corner to allow him the speed into that braking zone. The question is now, can he not necessarily break the DRS gap, but can he at least get enough of a gap that Danestar will not be too much of a worry, so that Ghost can concentrate on Ricky Maru. Now remember, he doesn't have to overtake him on track for Ghost. He does just have to stay within a 3-second window to take that place away from him, as Luke ten Brink, probably to be expected in this sprint race, has retired in the pits.
And we're going to see a late move, late dive bomb from Danestar. Here he comes. No late dive bomb like he did on Speed Queen. Danestar, it's a more straightforward move, and the Ferrari is back into 6th place, and that'll frustrate Ghost, won't he? He knows that 5th place is potentially up for grabs, and he doesn't want to be getting into a fight for 6th place when 5th place is potentially available. So frustration there for Ghost, as he's going to have to do it all again on the next lap.
Yeah, and that's caused the gap to Ricky Maru to go up to 2.9, so that is very close to being better for Ricky Maru. That's a little bit wide from Danestar. It looked like he just didn't quite get enough braking going into turn 19 there, and that's once again going to allow a little bit of a doorway for Ghost, but probably not on this lap. Ghost is just a little bit too far back.
Yeah, and that gap now is 3.4 seconds to Ricky, so he'll be absolutely chuffed to bits right now that he can see these guys fighting on track, squabbling away. Speed Queen, don't rule her out in this fight. She's right on the back of the McLaren, under that rear wing of the Papaya car. Speed Queen definitely not out of this battle for 6th place, despite losing a few places early on. Speed Queen still finding away, and MDJ as well. He can't rule him out either. So I honestly can't call this battle for 6th place right now. As long as Ricky doesn't make any more mistakes or pick any time penalties up, he should have 5th place nailed. and it's just a case of who's going to finish 6th out of this lot.
Yeah, and here comes Ghost right under the back wing of Danestar to the side, and a pretty bog standard move. Speed Queen almost thought about going down the inside of Danestar, looking to return the favour from earlier, but thought better of it. Probably the right idea to back out of that move. But yeah, this is going to determine who starts 6th on the grid. MDJ down the inside of Speed Queen. Can he hold it? Speed Queen should get good traction on the outside there. And she does. Still side by side through the triple right-hander. This is not easy and could be potentially dangerous. But both of them keep it nice and clean. Gaps all around. A little bit close through 19, but they still keep it nice and clean. And we're still side by side through the final corner. DRS for both of them. Who's got the lowest wings? And it looks like MDJ does have a little bit low wing, possibly a bit of extra ERS on top. He goes into the first corner first. Speed Queen looking for a switchback. Can't quite get the traction. And MDJ gets that move completed. Speed Queen has a look into the S's. But again, the gap just not quite there.
That was great. That was great racing, wasn't it, between the pair of them? A little bang here and there. There's nothing wrong with that. And MDJ comes out successful. I'm sure Speed Queen will be frustrated of losing that place and want to get it back as Ryan picks up a 3-second time penalty. So are we going to see trading places once again? So Ghost, as Danestar was all out of shape, that might help Ghost. Danestar had to correct it going out of that corner onto the back straight, so that's going to compromise him. He was 4 tenths behind Ghost. It dropped to 8 tenths, and I don't think Danestar's going to get the move done. He's not, so Ghost holds onto position. We're on the final lap here, so it looks like Ghost will keep 6th place.
Yeah, we're going to have to go back to the leader. We haven't seen him pretty much all race because Cameron Searle has been out front, big gap. But it is Cameron Searle who takes the sprint race victory here in Austin. Nick Jewston takes home 2nd place with ERT Nipro in 3rd. Good result for the 2 Alfa Romeos. Stinos takes 4th place. Ricky Maru will take 5th, even with a penalty there in the sprint, which is very impressive, to say the least. Ghost will be starting 6th in the feature race with Danestar in 7th, MDJ 8th, Speed Queen 9th. A fantastic 4-way scrap for that 6th place in the end. Jeremy Clarkson, not quite the hammer down as he would normally go for, but it's 10th place for him. Jasper in 11th, Ryan will be in 12th with Luke Tenbrink and Tirak behind.
A good race. That Cameron, once he broke that DRS from 2nd place, he was always going to keep that 1st place, but that battle for 6th place, that was absolutely fascinating to watch. I didn't know which way that was going to go at one point, but Ghost will be absolutely delighted, won't he, after starting, down in 10th, 11th place, so that's good for Ghost. But Ricky done well there, hasn't he, to hold on to 5th place at 1 point, despite having that 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So just to recap, the grid order for the feature race: the front row, Cameron Searle and Nick Jewston. Row 2 is ERT Nipro and Stinos. Row 3, Ricky Maru and Ghost. Row 4, Danestar and MDJ. Row 5 is Speed Queen and Jeremy Clarkson. Row 6 is Jasper and Ryan de Pivine. Luke Tenbrink and Tirak round off the grid on row 7. And the feature race has a threat of rain here in Tier 1, which I'm kind of hoping for from a spectator point of view. Obviously, the drivers probably won't be hoping for it, but we do like to get good entertainment here with the wet weather.
So I always find, as a person watching, I always find it's good when the rain just starts to come in the middle of the race, and you get to see who's brave to go on as early, or who's brave to try and stay on a slick tyre as long as possible, and you really do get to see who may have made a mistake or pulled a blinder of a strategy call out. It really does spice things up. So like yourself, I've got my fingers crossed that we might see some rain, not too much rain, so it's full wets and everybody's driving around at 40 miles an hour, but enough just to give them something else to think about, you know.
Yeah, there's all the mechanics doing their teapot stance in the pit lane. No Red Bull mechanics though, which is quite. I mean, whilst it's a bit of a stupid pose from all the mechanics really from the game, but it's quite nice to see the detail of the fact that there's no Red Bull cars, so there's no Red Bull mechanics.
Yeah, it's a shame not to see them, but at least like in real life, they won't be dominating tonight. It'll be somebody else winning the race. And we go into this main race now. Cameron, from this first time me really getting to watch him race, he's fast, he looks dominant. Transfer that sprint speed to the race speed.
Yeah, we know he's got good pace, Cameron, as long as he doesn't get held up in stuff. But speaking of championship, etc. And, well, let me just quickly find the tables. So we'll go through the top 5 of each championship. So the top 5 for the drivers, Cameron Saul does lead the championship at the moment on 60 with Ghost on 59. And that's all I'm going to get through because we're going to... Actually, no, we're going to have a formation lap. So this is helpful for me. We're going to have a formation lap, which also brings the weather closer to us because obviously the time technically starts now. Yeah, so Cameron Sorrell does have 60 points, Ghost on 59, Stinos 53, Speed Queen 46, and Nick Jewston. He's only done 3 races up to this point, but he's already in 5th on 37. In the Constructors, AlphaTauri winning that one on 90 points with McLaren on 71. Ferrari have 66, Haas on 59, and Aston Martin have 58.
I just want to point something out. Do you think the rain is coming very, very shortly? Because we've got half the field on soft tyres right now, which is blown my mind because I did not expect that. I was expecting medium and hard tyres. So are we potentially going to be seeing rain in the next 5-10 minutes, perhaps?
It very much could look like the way, and if it is that case, you do want to be on the soft tyres because obviously the colder the weather, the softer the tyre you want to be on because they heat up and give you grip. So very interesting, and it is pretty much, it is almost an even split, isn't it? 6 softs to 8 mediums, I think. So Ghost the first person to be taking that risk and that flyer on the soft tyres.
It'll be interesting to watch him at the start with that extra grip. And did I just see on board with Ghost now? I might have missaw something, but I swear I just saw a raindrop. Now, if my eyes are deceiving me,
I do see rain.
Yeah, it is. It's raining right now. So this soft tyre strategy looks like it is paid off.
The question is the rain going to be heavy enough to force them onto those intermediates? That's the question, because we sometimes do have it where it rains, but it doesn't rain hard enough for people to come off the slicks. It'd be interesting to see. So Spud in the chat, and also Gam, which is Speed Queen's sister, I believe, if I remember correctly, both cheering her on. She's starting down in 9th place, and very surprising for me that Speed Queen's starting on the medium tyre. Normally she is one of the ones that goes on a bit of a weirder strategy because of her tyre wear.
Yeah, unless she thinks, as you say, this rain's not going to be heavy enough for intermediate tyres, and she might have played a blind. But yeah, interesting strategy call here. The rain is falling. This is going to be fun.
And look at the angle that Cameron's put that AlphaTauri at. That is a heavy angle. That's for certain.
It's almost sideways.
But we have the 5 red lights. And we are green for the United States Grand Prix. Who's going to have the best getaway in these weird conditions at the moment? Looks like it's going to be Cameron Sorrell who's going to lead us into turn 1. Ricky Maru's up into, well, he was briefly up into 3rd. And it looks like we've got an Alfa Romeo round of Nipro and probably contact. I suspect Sab will be updating us very shortly on what happened in that incident.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ghost got completely squeezed by a car on the inside. He didn't see who it was, and he got pushed into another car. I'm amazed nobody spun out or got wing damage from that. They all managed to survive somehow, but at one point 3-4 cars were banging wheels, and yeah, they do survive, but Ghost unfortunately has lost out massively because of that.
Yeah, and Jeremy Clarkson a little bit wide out of 11. Danestar moves up into 6th. I did just see that Jeremy Clarkson picked up a 5-second time penalty for illegal overtakes gaining 2 positions. Meanwhile, Jasper gets past his teammate of Ricky Maru. Probably one that where Ricky Maru probably allowed that one through. Ghost up into 10th past Speed Queen. So Jasper now the lead driver on the soft tyre. On this, I'm going to call it psychological rain, because it's not really wet and it's not really hammering it down, but it's enough to make you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. Jasper in 4th place, the lead soft tyre runner right now, is trying his hardest to catch the Ferrari in 3rd place ahead on those medium tyres. Cameron setting the fastest lap of the race so far with a 37.9 on those medium tyres. So yeah, as you say, these soft tyre runners are going to be hoping that this rain gets heavier quite quickly, otherwise this strategy of theirs is not going to work out. But right now it looks through the first sector, still looks quite bright with the odd spit of rain here and there, but nothing, as you say, too serious right now for them to even consider intermediate tyres. So what can Jasper do here? In 4th place, he's 3/10 behind the Ferrari. He's got a gap to Danestar in 5th place. Meanwhile, Danestar also has a 5-second penalty, but Jasper looking like he's going to be lining up a move here down this back straight.
Yeah, no DRS yet. That gets activated as Speed Queen is alongside Ghost going through turn 11. Looks like she's going to get that move completed after the hairpin. We're going to go back to Jasper because it looks like he might be looking for a move on. Big switch and dummy. Although a little bit cut of the corner there for Jasper. I wonder if he's going to have to relinquish position there. They're still going to go side by side, and Stinos gets his nose back in front, so that will, if the game was forcing Jasper to relinquish position, that would have caused that to go away. So Jasper up into 3rd place through turn 15, but he's got 2.4 seconds now to the likes of Nick Houston ahead of him in 2nd place, whilst Danestar is ahead, obviously, of Ricky Maroon, out very wide out of the penultimate corner though. He's not leaving any pace behind.
No, and he's starting to feel the pressure, I think, from Ricky in 6th place. Ricky on those medium tyres is starting to put the pressure on the other Ferrari, Danestar now. Ricky, he's got a little bit of a gap to MDJ behind, but not enough to break the toe. But Ricky will be hoping to try and get past that. Well, there's a bit of a corner cut there from Ricky. He doesn't want to do too many of those. He picked up a time penalty in the sprint, remember. He doesn't want to do that again in this, as the rain does seem to be getting more consistent now, but again not anywhere near enough to cause a problem. Ricky, meanwhile, he was 4/10 of a second behind Danestar, has just lost out a bit through that first sector, and he's probably not going to be able to threaten Danestar, is there?
Yeah, DRS is enabled, so that's a good indicator that we're still in slick conditions. The game is pretty spot on normally with its DRS enabled or disabled points as to what tyre you probably should be on at that point. Jeremy Clarkson behind Ryan at the moment for 8th place. He'll be wanting to dispatch him quickly being on those soft tyres, but it just looks like they're in a small DRS strain at the moment that's running from, well, I'm going to say from Jasper downwards at the moment, but Ricky Maru outside, and Jeremy Clarkson almost into the back of that Mercedes, as we have yellow flag is a Ferrari of Danestar, who's lost it through the triple right-hander.
Yeah, that triple right-hander, especially with the rain falling as well, can be really tricky and could easily lose it. Danestar, I think he's got away with not picking up any damage. Yeah, he's carrying on, so Danestar is unfortunately down in 12th place now, out of the points, but at least he doesn't have to pit for wing change of any sort. So we've got moves up into turn 1.
Yeah, MDJ round the outside, as is Jeremy Clarkson. 2 moves round the outside of turn 1. Very much doable, because obviously on the outside you do get that slightly better traction, because you can get the car straightened up a little bit earlier. And good moves from the AlphaTauri and the Aston Martin, as DRS is now disabled. So are we now seeing the turning point to get onto the intermediates? And the question is, if we are, who's going to blink? I can't see any sort of spray from the car, which is another indicator that intermediates are looking more favourable. So I mean, we're going to see another lap or two as Luke almost spins it coming out of turn 11. Are we going to see maybe a lap or two more of the slick tyres whilst everyone's supposed to work out exactly what the best plan is. The Speed Queen down the inside of Ryan. Got to get it slowed down to not hit Jeremy Clarkson in front. Does get it slowed down, and big twitch from Jeremy, and Speed Queen, ever the opportunistic. Down the inside. Danestar's out. That could be a safety car there. It is a safety car.
Oh, well.
Are we about to see a massive pit stops for the intermediate tyre? And the answer is probably yes, because the leader is on his way in.
Yeah, I am not surprised in the slightest that they'll be all piling in now. And you've got some of the guys will end up having to double stack here, so they'll be wanting to try and keep that gap as big as possible to their teammates. But yeah, as you say, everybody flooding into the pits now as that rain is starting to get a bit heavier. And I probably have to say it might be a lot more greasier on the track than we probably think, with a few guys twitching and jumping about there. But Tirac has stayed out.
That's because he's not actually in the car.
Oh, right. I was going to say that was a strange call.
Everyone else who is in their cars has gone for the intermediates. Luke Ten Brink, I think, he just got to his pit box after double stacking with Jeremy. Jeremy's lost out a lot in that, so I wonder if Jeremy had to replace a front wing, because he's lost a lot of positions there. He was fighting with Speed Queen, so as I say that, Ryan has actually spun it through turn 2 under the safety car.
Oh dear. So yeah, tricky conditions. Ryan, has he got the car going again? Yes, he's got the car going again, so...
Although, it wouldn't surprise me if he maybe comes back in to get another set of intermediates on the car, because spinning on intermediates is never normally a good idea.
No, definitely not. So hopefully this shouldn't be a long safety car period, and what it does do is bring the pack back up to Cameron again, and can Nick in second place in the Alfa Romeo challenge Cameron under these now wet conditions? Cameron was looking mighty early on that medium tyre. What can they do now to try and challenge Cameron on this intermediate tyre? Or can Cameron just do exactly what he has been doing all night so far and just run away with this? But now, with no DRS, it's going to be even trickier to get moves done.
Yeah, and Smoke's just reminded me that Jeremy Clarkson did actually have that 5-second penalty to serve. So that's why he got held up. And Danestar obviously was the other one who had a 5-second penalty. So that's why Jeremy Clarkson, I kind of forgot a little bit about that as everyone was trying to fight for position. But yeah, that'd be why obviously Jeremy Clarkson. And that's horrible luck really for Luke Ten Brink, because I mean he really did suffer. I mean he was near the back anyway, but he kind of suffered a little bit. Just sitting there and waiting for Jeremy Clarkson to serve the penalty, then get serviced. But one more lap of safety car as Tirac Rakbot comes in for a pit stop for intermediates himself. But yeah, under safety car, and it was a bit of a weird one for Danestar. I wonder. I mean, that's out of I believe it was turn 12. I think he went off. Very common to lose the back end there, and in tricky conditions, if you're in the wrong gear, light at the rear is very easy just to spin it, and obviously with enough force to take a wheel off. Yeah,
it's a real shame for Danestar, because he was looking like he could score some good points this evening. So 0 points from the feature race tonight, and I think, to be honest, this is going to be the extent of the rain. It doesn't look like it's going to get any heavier. I don't want to put the curse on it, but it doesn't look like it's going to get any heavier. My question is, are we just going to get a shower and it's going to clear up and potentially go back to the dry running tyres later on? Right now, I wouldn't say so, but who knows? The spray is starting to come off the back of these cars, so there is a significant amount of rain on the track. But yeah, Tirac's ghosted car is on the back of this pack, so fingers crossed we get going racing at the end of this lap.
Yeah, as you say, the spray starting to go now, so definitely intermediate conditions. The track has got that nice shiny surface to it now. You see the reflections, and this is going to show, is Nick Jewston actually sporting a slightly wetter setup compared to Cameron Searle, as the safety car is confirmed in this lap? Because Cameron was walking away in the dry, but that could very much point to the fact that maybe Nick Jewston has gone for a slightly more wet setup, which will aid him in this phase of the race.
Yeah, he'll be hoping, if that's the case, that he can take advantage now. These conditions will be perfect for him if he has gone for a wet setup. So Cameron now is basically the safety car now, leading these cars around. When's he going to bolt? When's he going to go? Is he going to leave it right at the last second? Who knows what Cameron's going to do? But yeah, bringing them round now. It's always difficult at this point, especially in the wet weather. It's easy to try and
he's gone.
Go
He's gone already.
Wow.
He's gone before the penultimate corner, and I think he's timed that quite well, because the safety car now in the pits, so he won't get hampered by the game. And underway we go, on to lap number 7. Cameron Searle has a 0.6 of a second gap. A perfectly timed restart there to build that gap. And it's caught everyone almost napping, as Ghost is now on the back of Ricky Maru up towards turn 1. He has a slight look, but thinks better of it, whilst the tyres, even though they're intermediate, still need to warm up just a little bit to get in that optimum window.
He caught even me out, Cameron, there. I was honestly expecting him to go much later than that, but that was absolutely perfection from him, and he definitely caught Nick out, as you say, building the 0.6, but Nick's now starting to get into it, and he's caught up within a tenth, so Cameron is going to be made to work for this lead tonight, and Nick will be hoping to try and do something at least, maybe, if he can. But right now, Cameron keeping a healthy 5/10, 6/10 gap, with Jasper not really in this fight right now, is he, for that first place? Already dropped 1.6 seconds to Nick in second.
Yeah, MDJ on the back of Stinos. He had a massive twitch through 10. He's going to look to the outside of 12. Question is, just about gets given the racing room he deserves. Keeps down the inside for 13. Still very, very close. Once again, 13, 14 comes. Down towards 15. They're still side by side. And this is fantastic racing from these two in difficult conditions. But Stinos just about fends off the AlphaTauri for now. And look who's behind the Speed Queen, who I think we are both expecting to maybe have the slightly wetter setup from her pace in the dry. Luke 10 Brink is got past the Mercedes of Ryan. But yeah, Speed Queen starting to come into this race and possibly showing a confirmation of a slightly wetter setup again.
Yeah, Speed Queen looking like she's going to threaten MDJ right now. MDJ wanting that fourth place, but he's going to have to keep an eye on his mirrors, as Jeremy Clarkson takes 9th place up into turn 1, a usual overtaking spot for a lot of people. A little bit of a twitch from Jeremy Clarkson after that, but nothing to worry him as he makes his way through the S sections now. Jeremy Clarkson to 9th place. Next up ahead of him is Ghost.
Yeah, nice move down the inside of turn 1. And it's a funny thing really when we talk about twitches through corners, as he has a massive slide through turn 9 and through turn 10 on the crest. They look a lot worse outside the car than they do inside the car. I can definitely confirm that. I've had a fair few twitches in this game, and every time I look at it from the outside, I think that's a ridiculous save, as I think Luke had a slide out of 11. And he's lost that place to Ryan. Yeah, you look on the outside, you think that's a hell of a save. And when you look on the onboard, it's just a slight steering adjustment. And when you're actually driving it, you feel like nothing really happened.
Yeah, you're right. As MDJ now is struggling to stay with Stinos in 4th place. Ooh. He's dropped 1.2 seconds. We've got some moves, have we?
Yeah, Luke 10 Brink down the end, got past Ryan Depevin, but I don't know if there was a slight bit of contact, because there was a strange twitch from the Mercedes of Ryan, and he ended up off the road, so I don't know if there was a slight bit of contact there between those two. It'll be interesting what happens there, but Jeremy Clarkson all over the back of Ghost. He's got Nipro behind him, and once again, the battles are coming at the mid-pack and near the rear of the pack, but these battles are fantastic to watch as they all concertina up into turn 1.
Yeah, Speed Queen is... Oh! MDJ is gone. He spun it just before the S section, right in front of Speed Queen. I was just commentating on this battle, saying she's putting MDJ under pressure, and there you go. MDJ has spun out. I don't think he hit the barrier, so he's able to carry on this race, but that drops into the back of the field, and that promotes Speed Queen into 5th place.
Yeah, Jeremy Clarkson has another massive twitch out of turn 9. Oh, and Nipro's gone round this time over the brow of turn 10. The Alfa Romeo, the latest to spin. Meanwhile, Jeremy Clarkson down the inside of Ghost, that's for 7th place, onto the back straight, and through goes the Aston Martin driver. Ghost will be looking to get back at him. Down towards turn 10, not quite gaining enough to look for a move, but Ghost a little bit more confident on the brakes as MDJ gets past Nipro down the back straight. So Nipro down to the very back of the pack. And Nick Houston's now half a second away from Cameron Searle.
I was just going to say that. Interesting, at the front of the pack, Nick, he was hovering around a second behind Cameron, and he's got it down to half a second now. So Cameron is not as comfortable in this part of the race right now as he was in the beginning part. Nick giving him as good as he can get, but right now he probably wishes he had DRS now, but nothing like that for him in these conditions. So Nick tried his hardest to put Cameron under pressure, maybe force a mistake out of the Alpha Tauri driver, but right now these two are in a bit of a class of their own, with the gap 3.5 seconds to Jasper in 3rd.
Yeah, Nipro has unfortunately retired from this race in the pits. MDJ looks like he's going to get a new set of intermediates bolted on that car. Although he might, new intermediates. I was going to say he might surprise us with wets, but I very much doubt it. I wonder if Nick was just bringing those tyres in, just slowly, letting the car get settled in the car before he really starts to push, because it seems like he definitely has more confidence here. We will go back though to Jeremy Clarkson, because he's near the back of Ricky Maru, getting towards that back straight, and he's kind of trying to tag along. But yeah, I wonder if Nick Houston was just letting those tyres come to him and gradually building that sort of speed up, and not risking a spin.
He could well have done, and right now he's trying his hardest to just keep within Cameron, and the only thing he could possibly do is just put him under pressure and see if he cracks. These conditions are not easy to work with, so Nick doing a good job right now of keeping Cameron honest, and Cameron is trying his eyes to get that gap back up. Meanwhile, just further back in 4th place, Stinos is now under a second to Jasper in 3rd, so the battle for 3rd place could be on shortly, as Stinos in that Ferrari is looking to hunt down the Haas of Jasper in 3rd.
Ricky Maru and Jeremy Clarkson are having twitches every other corner, and you can just hear on the throttle from Ricky Maru, ever so gentle on that throttle, just bringing it in as carefully as he can. But Jeremy Clarkson will have a chance here up towards turn 1, I think. He'll look to the inside, and through he goes for now. Ricky Maru will look for a switchback, but that's a lovely placement from the Aston Martin. Parks it on the apex, and that's move done.
Nice move from Jeremy there into 6th place. Next up is Speed Queen, 1.8 seconds behind, but Ricky will not want to give this up, I'm sure. It's a bit of a twitch there, commentator's curse, and that could present an opportunity for Ghost in 8th place.
Absolutely. And it shows you that one small mistake in this league and you have the next car behind you on your tail. So Ricky Maru once again, rather than looking forward at maybe trying to regain the place from Jeremy Clarkson, is going to be looking behind him once again, this time at an orange papaya McLaren. Although it looks like the straight line pace of the Haas is not too shabby. As we have a change for the lead.
What has happened there?
Nick Houston now looking around the outside of turn 15. They were side by side through 13, 14, 15. They're still side by side into 16, and Cameron Searle concedes. He has let that place go for now. And I wonder, did Nick Houston save up his battery for a massive attack down that back straight?
I think Cameron made a mistake, I'm sure, because as they were going down that back straight, Cameron had a 1 second advantage. Because I was just going to say to you, Cameron's starting to build the gap up now, and then suddenly them two switched places. So I'm wondering, after that long back straight, whether Cameron's ran wide or he's had a massive twitch. I don't know. But Cameron, somewhere towards the end of that long straight, I think made a mistake. I could be wrong, but it looked like he made a mistake, because that gap just disappeared from a second to Nick taking the lead. But that certainly does spice this race up now. And what can Cameron do? This is an interesting perspective now. Riding on board with Cameron with the car ahead of him. He's got the spray of the rain in his face. What can he do to get past that Alfa Romeo and retake the lead of this race?
Yeah, I wonder if he'd done a similar thing to what Danestar done, but just not quite as bad. Maybe just lit the rear up. Almost had like a half spin to a degree there. Because I mean, even the top line drivers do make those mistakes in the wet, and Cameron Searle showing that he's definitely using lower wings down this back straight. But Nick Houston just about ahead enough to fend off this Alpha Tower. I mean, these two did not get any airtime in the sprint, and now they're getting a fair chunk of it now.
They probably had a conversation saying nobody saw us during the sprint. Should we just spice it up a little bit so we get some airtime this evening? And if that is the case, then they probably are successful in that, as they all eyes are on them right now. Can Cameron get the move done? He's not going to have DRS, as I've already pointed out, so he's got to do it the old-fashioned way here. And in these tricky conditions, you don't want to be putting the power down too soon, because you find yourself facing the wrong way. But he's certainly trying to put Nick under all sorts of pressure in that gap now. 5.2 seconds to Jasper. Meanwhile, Stenos' attempt at third place has fallen away slightly, as we've got to move between Ghost and Ricky. Ricky spun. Yeah,
Ricky Maru at the exit of the penultimate corner. Again, another easy place to spin due to the off-camber corner there. It's very easy. I think that's Ryan's gone round at the final corner this time.
And it was handy for him because he can go straight into the pit, so that was lucky for him. I don't know whether he's going to retire. He has retired from the race, which is surprising, really, because he was in 10th place. He would still score points. So Ryan out of this session now, which will promote MDJ and Tirak. I think Tirak is still ghosted, though. So, if looking further back ahead, and Cameron still unable to get close to Nick, 6 tenths of a second, yellow flag in 6-1, but that'll be for the retired car.
Yeah, Cameron has a little look to the inside to fill the mirrors of Nick Houston, but doesn't quite work. And probably one of the rarest things to occur in IRL Tier 1, Ghost has a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting.
Wow. I'm going to say I certainly haven't seen that before, so it just shows you, even in these conditions, that it can catch anybody out with a yellow flag in sectors, I think.
That was just Ryan's AI pulling over to retire,
okay.
I think.
Okay, yeah.
But meanwhile, at the front, Cameron Searle's gone a little bit wide. He is under pressure and he's starting to feel it. 1.1 the gap. Is this the gap that Nick Houston needs? Now start to walk away with this. That Alfa Romeo looks a lot more settled, as I think we've got Luke 10 Brink now around at a very weird spot, actually. That's on the entry to turn 16.
Interesting. I don't know how you've possibly spun it there, but
I reckon he's come out of 15, got a little bit sideways. He's had a bit of a tank slapper, which has taken him towards the next corner before it's finally decided to go round on him. It's about the only explanation I can think of, anyway.
Yeah, it sounds logical, but Luke does remain in 9th place. He just needs to try and keep his head down if he can, and he'll be able to score some points this evening. No more spins, and he should be okay. But as we look at the field now, they kind of spread out. No one's really too close to anyone. Cameron, as you say, just falling back to a second now. He's going to try his hardest. He does look like he's very fast down this back straight. He's applying the ERS as I'm riding on board him, so he's trying his hardest to regain that gap to Nick. And look at that. You can tell he had his ERS and his low wings. It went from a second down to half a second just on that back straight. Yeah,
but now we're going to come into the section where Nick Houston uses his higher wings to his advantage now. Although, to some degree, it's also all about the traction and the throttle application, as we've seen multiple times this race. Through the triple right-hander they go. And you can definitely tell they're a lot. Oh, as Nick Houston has a bit of a twitch. You can definitely tell that they're running a little bit slower in these wet conditions, because the camera changed to the camera on the outside of that triple right-hander, and you were waiting for a few seconds before they actually arrived in shot.
Yeah, it's Cameron not able to get much closer, as you say, as you pointed out, through that third sector. Nick's higher wings taking advantage there. I was about to say Jeremy Clarkson was getting closer to Speed Queen, but that gap has actually increased. It's almost 2 seconds now, so Jeremy Clarkson not able to gain on Speed Queen. Speed Queen in a bit of a race of her own right now, isn't she? She's 4.7 seconds behind 4th place and almost 2 seconds ahead of 6th place. She just wants to keep that concentration up now. It's easy to lose concentration when you're just racing around on your own, especially in these conditions. So she wants to keep that car planted, doing a good thing right now in 5th place. She'll score good points if she stays there, or potentially take advantage of anybody's mistakes ahead.
Yeah, and I think one thing we need to discuss really here is tyre life of these intermediate tyres, because obviously they are softer in comparison to the dry tyres. Obviously all wet tyres are, the wetter they are, the softer they tend to be. But intermediates, typically you need at least one stop. Now, they've been on these tyres since about lap 6 in reality for actual racing. Can they do the 21 laps on this set of tyres? I mean, I think we're going to be into puncture territory potentially if they decide that they're going to try and do this with no more stops.
That is a good point, actually. You're right there. These intermediate tyres will certainly be crying sooner rather than later. So who's going to be brave enough to try and look after these tyres and see if they can go to the end? Or who's going to think, say somebody like Ricky in 8th place, think, I'll put on a set of brand new intermediate tyres now and be faster towards the end of the race and maybe catching these guys up who are on the worn, older intermediate tyres. Me personally, I would potentially try doing an undercut like that just to see if it works. There's only 11 drivers on the field right now. That gamble could pay off for them. So yeah, as you say, surely these tyres can't go to the end, and if they don't, who's going to pit first?
Yeah, obviously technically only 10 drivers on this track. Obviously Tirak not actually in control of his car, so the basic principle is for these 10 drivers, finish the race, you have points.
Yeah, which again, I'm surprised Ryan DNF from the race. I've been in his position probably where he's frustrated and it's not gone right for you and you just feel like you don't want to do it anymore, but there's a real opportunity to score points tonight. So even if you're spinning 300 times in a race, if you're in the top 10, as you say, you're going to score points. So sometimes you just got to suck it up and just take the points and move on to the next race. But obviously it's just not his night for Ryan this evening. Meanwhile, Cameron just not able to get close enough to Nick, still hovering around that 9/10 of a gap. Jeremy Clarkson, meanwhile, has brought the gap down now to Speed Queen. It's now 1.2 seconds, but I'm guessing because he, similar to Cameron, might have lower wings compared to Speed Queen.
Yeah, and the other one is Stinos, which has brought the gap down to Jasper to 1 second. So we're gradually creeping back into some battles here within the top 6. Honestly, we've shown far too much of Cameron, Searle, and Nick Jewson at the front at the moment. So we're going to have a little bit of a look at Stinos because he's under a second, 8/10 to the house of Jasper, and this is for the last step of the podium at present. Stinos, he has good pace, not necessarily on every circuit, which makes probably a championship fight for him a little bit more difficult, whereas in comparison to the likes of potentially Ghost, Cameron, Searle, whilst they do have weak tracks, they tend to still go quite well at them. When Stinos has a bad track, he just seems to not be able to do that sort of thing where he scores like in the middle of the top 10. But he's definitely got some pace here in the wet, and he's almost going to be putting this to use to hopefully make a move on Jasper in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, he's looking racy right now, and he's getting ever so closer to Jasper ahead, 6/10 of a second now. So Jasper will be getting his wing mirrors full of a bright red Ferrari shortly. Jasper slightly wide out of that corner, ran on to the curb, so this is a real opportunity. 4/10 of a second, 3/10 of a second. He's not using his ERS either, which I'm surprised about, so Stinos won't be, unless he does a mega dive bomb there, he's not going to make the move, but he's certainly now putting that Haas drive under pressure.
Yeah, I wonder if he just thought the move was never really going to be on, so didn't bother with with that ERS, Luke has spun out of turn 10. And I think he's got going again. Yes, he has, just looking at the mini-map. Yeah, I wonder if Stinos just thought the move wasn't quite on, so no point really wasting that ERS when you can keep building it and have a massive launch on another lap when he's a little bit closer out of the hairpin. I must note, though, that Tirak bot has pitted for a new set of intermediates, so potentially showing us that these intermediates might not go to the end. But the AI are obviously very, very much differently programmed to us human players. We do a lot more stupid things.
Just a little bit of an update to the top again. Cameron is within 7/10 now of Nick through the first sector, whereas Cameron's been normally losing a few tenths through this S sector. So potentially, if Cameron can get these corners right down to the long back straight, that he might have an opportunity to attack Nick here, as it's now 6/10 of a second. I'm sure Cameron will be using his ERS to try and mount an attack here. Can Cameron do anything? ERS is on, his foot is planted. Luke retires from the session, which is a real shame, but unfortunately for Cameron, he just needed to be that little bit closer. He's as close as he's been in a long time now, but not close enough to have a potential overtake. Within 4/10 now.
Yeah, I'm very surprised at Luke there because, again, guaranteed points on the table have just been thrown away once again. So, not really an ideal situation. So we now have 9 drivers remaining. If you are wondering, Tirak not counted in that. He is not in control of the car. Stinos right on the back of Jasper. Cameron Searle on the back of Nick Jewston. In fact, Cameron Searle is right on the back of Nick Jewston. And I have just put the gap to the leader because it'll be interesting to see if they do pit where these guys come out. And I think if Nick Jewston was to pit, he'd come back out in 6th place behind Jeremy Clarkson, but ahead of Ghost.
Interesting. As Cameron, I thought he'd have been much closer into turn 1 there. Then the lower wings I thought would have brought him closer, but no, he wasn't able to get quite close enough. Maybe saving his ERS for the next long straight. He needs to nail it through this S section again, like he did last lap, to get him closer. But he was about 5-6 tenths behind Nick onto that long straight. Can he get within 4 tenths of him? If he can, 3 tenths, then he has a real opportunity to attack. But I don't think he's actually worse off this lap now than he was previous lap, dropping it down to 8 tenths. So I don't think, unless Nick makes a mistake here, Cameron is going to just have to follow the Alfa Romeo down this long straight again.
Yeah, it's just that last little section, just at the start of Sector 2 there, around turn 8-9. It looks like obviously the higher wings of Nick Jewston just allows him to get on the throttle that a little bit earlier than Cameron, with a little bit less peril. But Stinos still 7 tenths behind Jasper. Jeremy Clarkson has got to within 8 tenths now of Speed Queen, so that battle is getting quite close. Otherwise, Ghost in no man's land, Ricky Maru no man's land, as is MDJ at the back. Obviously, MDJ did make that pit stop for a new front wing, I believe, or just a fresh set of tyres because of the spin. But either way, he has made an extra pit stop compared to everyone, which is why he is far away from the pack. Still has a big twitch through the triple right-hander. But I'm going to go back to Cameron because he's 6 tenths. Although, yeah, every corner exit, it just looks like Cameron just loses a touch of time before he starts to gain it back on a straight.
Yeah, and by the time he's caught up to Nick ahead, it's just not enough, is it, to potentially mount an attack on Nick? And there was a couple of twitches there from Cameron which won't have helped him. He did lose a tenth there, but not too drastic. Oh, that was close from Cameron there. I thought he cut the corner, but obviously not cut the corner, just done it to perfection. Still trying to put the pressure on. He'd be wishing he had DRS now, because he probably would have made the move on Nick by now. He made a mistake there as well, rode the bit of the curb, as we've got migrating host on the screen.
Cameron Searle has disconnected.
Oh no.
And this is a small bug in the game, I think, that if the host is of a different console type, so the crossplay element, potentially someone from a different platform does disconnect if they do sometimes. So I'm hoping Cameron Sorrell can get back into this, but ideally he'd need an invite from the host, as Jeremy Clarkson has now disconnected.
Oh, don't say we've got a mass disconnect here, because that would be a real shame. Where this race was going, it was really starting to look like we were going to get a big battle towards the end of this race, and that'd be a real shame if folk are just now dropping out of this race. What, 8 laps left of the race now, and I don't know what's happening here, but now Cameron's ghost car is ghosting through Nick's car here, so I don't know if Nick's also disconnected. I don't know what's going on, but this is unfortunately going to a bit of a mess.
So it looks like the AI in the wet is slightly quicker than Nick Houston is, which is what's happening there. And the AI, because obviously it's ghosted it, will naturally just take the racing line, and Cameron Sorrell's robot has taken the lead of this race. Purely because, let's face it, the AI on this game are ridiculous, and that's an interesting strategy. Look at what tyre Speed Queen is on.
I am on a different. Let me have a look quickly. Oh, the wet.
Full wet tyres for Speed Queen. I mean, it does look very wet out there, and the rain, it does look heavier than it was before. So either this is a stroke of genius from Speed Queen, or it's a gamble too far.
At this point, I'll be honest, I probably would try the gamble at this point. You've got nothing to lose, really. It could pay off for her, and it could be an absolute masterclass from her. But I'd be incredibly frustrated right now if I'm Nick. I've got this ghost. This has been really distracting. I've got this ghost car coming in and out of my car constantly. This would be incredibly distracting. And hopefully, if Cameron does get back in, then sense will prevail, and Cameron will just drop back and give Nick the lead again, because this is a bit ridiculous that the AI is now taking the lead of this race after Nick has drove so well. And as you say, wow, it's very wet in this third sector now. Are we going to see anybody pit? Nick's not pitting? No, he's not pitting. So just Speed Queen at the moment on those wet tyres. She'll be one to definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah, obviously, in terms of Cameron Sorrell, Jeremy Clarkson, obviously, me and Sab would send invites, but obviously we're not EA friends with them, unfortunately. And I do believe it tends to be, it has to come from the host.
Jasper has pitted, by the way. Jeremy Clarkson also pitted, but he pitted for a set of intermediate tyres. Jasper, meanwhile, has gone for a set of wet tyres. So has Jeremy Clarkson made the mistake here? Are the wet tyres the way to go? Jeremy
Clarkson's not in the car.
Oh, he's not. That's right. I apologise. I remember there is one other who wasn't in the car. So his AI has pitted for a set of intermediate tyres. So it looks potentially like wet tyres are the way to go. As Jasper in 4th place now on the wet tyres. He's definitely one to keep an eye on. Can he gain on Stinos in 3rd place?
And that is a question for sure. So obviously Ghost on the wet tyres now. Looks like MDJ is pitting, probably for wet compound tyres. I reckon Nick might be waiting for Stinos here. Nick might just wait for Stinos to come in. He's got 27, 28 seconds to Jasper, so he's got a bit of time to spare. So yeah, I think Nick's going to wait for Stinos, because if Nick pits and Stinos doesn't, and the weather improves, then that becomes advantage to Stinos. Although Nick Houston has activated his pit limiter on track.
What is going on?
That is a very slow... okay, no, it's just glitched, and he's now coming out of the pits on wet tyres. So this game is going bizarre.
It's a shame, isn't it? Because this was setting up to be such a fascinating end to the race with this weather, and unfortunately, the game has ruined it. Let's be fair; it really ruined what was a fascinating race. Stinos did pit for wet, so it looks like it is wet's the way to go. As there we go, look, Stinos is out of the pits, right in front of Jasper. So Jasper now putting the pressure on the Ferrari. Jasper wants to take that third place back, but Stinos is going to make it difficult.
So what that shows then is that Jasper came in one lap too early, and it is the case sometimes that when that crossover period is there between intermediates and wets, that, or even sometimes slicks to intermediates, that one extra lap can actually be better, especially if you have the feeling in the car that the intermediates are that little bit faster. And another rarity from Ghost, he now picks up a second lot of 3-second penalties, putting him up to 6.
Yeah, that's very unlike him, but right now, thankfully for him, he's got a big enough gap behind him that the 6 seconds won't affect him. I don't know about you, mate, but my sector times are all gone really weird as well and bugged out, so I'm struggling at me to work out the gaps between cars, because my game right now is telling me Nick is 0.5 of a second behind Cameron, which is not right at all. So we shall see what's going on here. So I'll do my best to try and keep on top of that.
It looks like, I mean, my timings are not moving either, not really. Getting a little bit of movement further down the field. Nick Houston now 3 seconds apparently behind Cameron Saul's robot. I was going to try and re-invite Ryan in to see if we can try and get Cameron in the game, and Jeremy Clarkson. So please do bear with.
So while you do that, I'll try and keep everybody up to date with what's going on the track. And right now, the main battle is still for that third place as Jeremy Clarkson's ghost car is into the pits again. So Jasper 1 second behind Stinos, and as you say, probably pitted 1 lap too early, and that may have cost him that final podium place. Ghost moves up into 6th place now because of the ghost of Jeremy Clarkson. Jasper not able to get much closer to Stinos, so Stinos might have played a blinder here on Jasper, and he'll be incredibly frustrated because Jasper has had a solid race tonight, not really put a foot wrong, just unfortunately the timing of the second phase of pitting has gone against Jasper. So the Ferrari of Stinos in 3rd place, quite a way off the battle for 1st place ahead, but Stinos having a solid race himself, and he'll be absolutely delighted to be in 3rd place. But there's still some time to go right now, and with these tricky conditions, anything can happen. So you can't be thinking you've got this wrapped up because one snap of oversteer or one accelerating out of the corner too much, and suddenly you find yourself in a wall or facing the wrong way in that position. What you was loving is suddenly gone. But Jasper trying his hardest to put the pressure of the Ferrari, but right now Jasper is just not able to gain any closer than 1.2 seconds. Speed Queen in P5 again in no man's land really, and with Ghost also in no man's land with 6 seconds worth of time penalty. So the main battle is between Stinos and Jasper. As we see on my screen, Nick's about to retake the lead of this race ahead of the ghost of Cameron Searle. So Nick has retaken the lead of this race.
Yeah, I'm just thinking I could try and get Cameron back in this race, but obviously it's not really great for the stream, but it's something we got to try and do. Just try a few things, but my list is now not loading, so
for the numerous time Jeremy Clarkson's back into the pits, I think his ghost is probably trying to go for the record amount of pits in one race. I believe the reason why Cameron's ghost is so slow now is because he's still on the intermediate tyres. Yes, he is. So that'll be why Cameron's ghost is suddenly not as quick as it once was. Stinos, meanwhile, is keeping a healthy gap to Jasper in fourth place, 1.2 seconds. And it'd be interesting because if Cameron's Ghost does pit now, Stinos is going to effectively take second place, and I believe Jasper will also take third place. So Cameron's Ghost, I'm wondering if it'll pit. I don't know how it works with the AI on here. If it does pit, it's sliding. The Ghost is even sliding on my screen. So those intermediate tyres, those well-worn intermediate tyres, all over this track, his Ghost carries on. So right now Stinos is gaining on that car. It was 14.5 seconds to Cameron. It's now 12.8 seconds, whereas Jasper also hanging on to the back of the Ferrari.
I managed to load my friends list now for EA, but it's showing, where is Cameron? Even though I've accepted him, he's not appearing on the list.
It's real. I'm finding this really frustrating. The game, they've made this game for so many years now, and I don't want to go on a bit of a rant, but they've made this game for so many years now, and there's always a problem with it. And unfortunately, tonight has been ruined because of bugs and errors within this game. What has kicked out people and caused other issues along the way, and it's just a real shame because this was shaping up to be such a fascinating race, and we've ended up with this what can only be described as a mess this evening, which is a shame. But Stinos is now in third place now, less than 10 seconds behind Cameron Searle's second place Ghost car, but I don't think he's going to catch him up in time with only 2 and a bit laps left of this race left to go. Jasper just starting to fall away from Stinos now. He's 1.4 seconds back, with Spiegel 9.9 seconds behind Jasper, just coming onto the long back straight in a Alpine car. And right now we've not really got much of a race on here. We've just basically got 9 cars running, 10 if you count Timrax Ghost, but if you want to remove Ghost, then you've only got 7 cars running, which is really frustrating. But Nick will see, I hope I'm wrong here, but I'm sure Nick will not want to win like this. He'll have wanted to win battling Cameron all the way to the checkered flag, and he's now opened up a healthy 8-second gap, whereas Stinos in third is got it down to 7.6 seconds. So surely he can't bridge that gap to second place, but we're on lap 27 now, and yeah, I honestly don't know what else can be left of this race now. It's kind of already died, hasn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna have to leave the commentary with yourself, Sam, and I'm just trying to help the guys get back in this race. Yeah, that's
fine. I'll try my best to carry on with this session and keep you guys with what everything's going on. And right now, Jasper still falling away in fourth place, now down to 1.6 seconds. Meanwhile, Stinos could potentially catch Cameron's car. I said he probably won't. Well, that's showing me up right now, because Stinos is now 5 seconds behind the Ghost of Cameron. So Stinos carries on the way he's going, could inherit second place here, which again probably wouldn't want to inherit like this, but it's the way it's going, unfortunately. Nick with a 10-second comfortable lead out in front now. He doesn't really have to do anything wrong now, and this race is comfortably in his hands this evening. Cameron Searle has finally rejoined, but the problem we've got here now is his car is on 22 lap old intermediate tyres. Now I can imagine he's going to try his best to get this car over 1 lap to the end, but he's going to be under massive pressure from Stinos to hold on to second place here. Hopefully he can carry on with the car here. Good to see him get back in, but yeah, it's too late, unfortunately, isn't it? And his car does pit.
Yeah, it's going to drop him down the order, which is a big shame for Cameron. I have my message seeing if we can get Jeremy Clarkson in. Hopefully it won't drop Cameron down too much. I think he'll be behind Speakwing, so he'll still be 5th. And he'll be on very much fresh, wet tyres. So we'll see how that goes. If Jeremy Clarkson does ping me a request, I'll try and get him back in. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I think he's accepted defeat on that one. But Cameron Searle, 3.3 behind Speed Queen. He's got 1 lap to catch 3.6 seconds. I think that's going to be very hard to do, but you never know on those fresh tyres. Jasper is 2.2 at the moment. But yeah, as we say, Sab, the race has very much expanded with the gaps and with a couple of issues we've had.
Yeah, it's a real shame because we had 3 different pockets of battles. What looked like they were going to go right to the end: a battle for the lead, a battle for 3rd place, and there was I think it was a battle with maybe Ghost of Speed Queen, I think it was. But Nick does. Oh, hang on. I've just had to check it. Nick in my screen is in sector 3, and it says he's got the checkered flag.
Yeah.
Now I thought he'd won the race, but he hasn't won the race just yet, as far as I can
Although
see.
his car is in AI mode, so he has crossed the line, but he hasn't crossed the line on our screen by the looks of it, which is very strange. But we'll watch this robot coming across the line. Nick Jewston wins the United States Grand Prix. And I'm not quite sure what's happening because on my screen, Stinos is ahead of Jasper. But in the standings, Jasper is ahead of Stinos. So I'm now very, very much confused. In my opinion, Stinos is 2nd, Jasper is 3rd, according to road position here. Speed Queen will be 4th. Cameron Searle 5th. Ghost will be 6th. I do apologise, I'm literally working this out based on road position right now. Ricky Maru, he hasn't crossed the line yet, but he is on human controls, which is the first person I've seen. He will finish in 7th. Jeremy Clarkson will not be finishing 8th because he's not in the car. It'll be MDJ, who, I mean, you have to give applause to MDJ. He's had a terrible race. He's apparently crossed the line at turn 16. He's had a terrible race, but he's stuck this one out.
Yeah, and this is what we were saying, wasn't we? All points available, just keep going, and MDJ has just done that, and he's scored himself some points. So, yeah, a very frustrating, a very disappointing way to end what was setting up to be a fascinating race. But congratulations to Nick. He is tonight's race winner, and Stinos is 2nd with Jasper 3rd, so we've got an all-Dutch podium.
It is, yes. But, I mean, it's going to be very hard for us really to work out who has actually won this. Well, we know who's won the race, but who's come 2nd because of the way the timing tower was. Let's just have a look. And it has credited Jasper with 2nd place. And I think that's wrong.
Yeah, on my screen, Stinos is 2nd. So I don't know what's going off right now.
I'll tell you what, if I were you, Sab, I'd take some pictures of this. And
good idea.
Because with Ryan not in this session, this stream I think is very much wrong in terms of the provisional leaderboard. But we do have Nick Jewston in. I'm just going to check to see if Stinos can make it. So, Sab, I know you've got a picture of your results. Can you read out what you have? Because I think your ones are correct, just as a recap of the provisional results for the feature race of the United States Grand Prix.
So my results are as follows: Nick in 1st, with Stinos in 2nd, Jasper in 3rd, Cameron in 4th, Ghost in 5th, Speed Queen in 6th, I don't know if that's right. I thought Speedqueen was ahead of Ghost, but that I don't know. You've got Ricky in 7th, ERT Nipro in 8th, and MDJ 2002 in 9th, with the rest DNFing. I believe, I don't know. I
I'm
thought
not sure.
Ghost and Speedqueen
I
was the
thought
other way around.
Nipro. I thought did Nipro retire in the end? I thought
I
Nipro
don't know
retired in the
now. Then
pits,
I
but
genuinely don't know now.
it's great times at the FIA. They're going to have an absolute wonderful time trying to work out this result. We do have Nick Jewston in with us. I believe Stinos will probably not be joining us. I think he still is a mic down at the moment. But Nick Jewston, congratulations on your victory. I mean, obviously with the issues that occurred, not really the way you were kind of hoping to take that, because you were fending off Cameron so very nicely up to that point.
Yeah, definitely was sorry for him, but at that point I was ahead, so I was happy with that. I've made my setup a bit towards the rain as well, but not too much, so I learned from my mistake in Belgium. So, but it paid off. In the sprint race I was really quick, and in the first few laps I also was slower than Cameron, but in the rain the grip really came towards me, then he made a mistake, and I made use of that, so yeah, it was nice.
So that was all planned then, just sticking with Cameron, keeping him within a decent gap until that rain sort of hit where you could start to apply that pressure to him.
Yeah, it was because so I put the wings a little bit higher than I wanted to, and then I already saw in the sprint race that his straight line speed was just immense. So yeah, and his pace, overall pace in the drive was just better with that setup, I think. So for me, it was just hoping that the rain would do better to my setup, and it did. I think it was a little bit faster, and then I just kept on pushing until he made that mistake, and then I was able to take him.
And in terms of yourself, obviously, this is your 4th race this season in Tier 1. You know, you already have some yes, your 4th race. You already have some good points behind you heading into this one. You're 5th in the championship. Obviously, it's a long way to Cameron. You're 23 points behind him, but do you sense that you can potentially mount a small challenge on this championship? Because every time you've raced, you've got on the podium.
Yeah, well, it's a long go to Cameron, but of course he didn't really score a lot of points in this round due to his internet problem. So I think it will be like now 16 points or something. So I think that can be doable, will not be easy. And there are also other people that are above, I think. But yeah, I'll take the challenge and do my best.
Sab, any questions for Nick?
I just wanted to quickly ask about the moments you managed to get by Cameron. I didn't see it on stream, but can you just talk us through what exactly happened to Cameron? Because he looked like he had about 9/10 of a second ahead of you, 1 second ahead of you at that point, and then suddenly you were going ahead of him. So if you could just talk us through what happened at that point for you to get to the lead of the race.
Yeah, so on the large man straight, I think he went wide after braking, so he went off the track. He had a really bad exit, and he didn't cover the inside, so I went for it. It was a fair move. He tried to go around the outside, but the inside just has more grip. Then he came back to the inside into that deep corner to the left, which is really wide. So, but then also there the outside has more grip, so I just tried to brave it around the outside. He left me enough room, which was fair, and then I got ahead.
Well, well done. It's a shame I didn't get to see it because I was looking further ahead, further down the order at another battle, and I wasn't expecting you to get ahead with that gap. So congratulations on that. It was a stellar drive in those wet conditions. I think you played a real good job to raise those wings slightly and set it up for those tricky conditions at the end. And it did look very tricky at the end, having to stick on a set of wet tyres.
Yeah, I was just waiting for the anyone else to pit because Cameron was of course already gone, and then I had this gap of like 10 seconds, so it wasn't really worth it to be the first on wets, especially with a safety car. So I just waited until the rest went on into wet tire, and then I saw it was quicker, so I And then they really pushed because why should I in the last few laps?
Obviously, well, congratulations, Nick, on your victory in very much tough conditions in that one. We do have a small write-up from Jasper. Apparently the one-shot qualifying was his first lap on the track since July, and the first lap on the game since Spa last week. So he would take a P5 on that one. In the sprint, he got a bit of a dive bomb on that one, which gave him some front wing damage. In the main race, though, he had a good start where he made up a lot of positions. The rest was quite boring for him, as he didn't have the pace of the top two, but P3 wasn't really in doubt. The unlucky moment came from Cameron, which I believe Jasper does say he got P2. Stinos did get P3 in the end, so that is correct in terms of, I think, my picture. Stinos, though, stating pretty uneventful race. Jasper behind started on softs, able to overtake him in the first stint, and then when it started to rain, almost impossible to overtake, so he sat in behind for P3. Jasper also able to open a big gap because he pitted for the wets one lap earlier. So congratulations to those two for getting onto the podium. But Sab, I mean, for what was a fairly uneventful racing end, it was still a very eventful race in the end.
Yeah, I thought the Australian Grand Prix last weekend was eventful until we saw what happened tonight. Unfortunately, taken out of his hands, but huge congratulations to Nick winning the race this evening and the rest of the podium, whichever order it is. But yeah, I've personally really enjoyed being back in with you this evening, and fingers crossed if I get back in with you, we don't have anything quite as chaotic as tonight.
Yeah, obviously this was round 8, so it means we have break week next week for Tier 1. So no Tier 1 action next week, but we are back in 2 weeks' time. That will be for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix at the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit. Always an exciting track to race at. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, Sab, but that track is unbelievable to race. I think everyone enjoys driving it.
Yeah, it's fast, it's flowing, it's gonna punish you if you make a mistake. I do enjoy that track, so I'll have to have 2 weeks of practice before I get on it though.
That's brilliant, and we do apologise for the small interruptions near the end there as we tried to get a few drivers back in. Unfortunately, just a few technical errors on the game side. But even though we had those, if you did enjoy the racing tonight, which was fantastic when we had those battles, don't forget to like the stream and subscribe to the IRL Racing channel, mainly because we still have more live racing to come tomorrow in the form of realistic performance from the USA. I'm not quite sure if you're competing in that one, Sab. I know a few others are. But that's brought to you by Malc and Tim, although I think potentially might be Tim and another, or Malc and another. But they'll be here from 8 o'clock tomorrow for the USA Grand Prix for realistic performance. And obviously, don't forget, next week we do have one race in the Tier 2 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The rerun of that is happening next Tuesday. But other than that, from Tier 1 here, from myself, Sab, and all the drivers, thank you for watching this Invictus Racing League Tier 1 race in partnership with gridfinder.com. We will see you in 2 weeks when we head to Jeddah.